So, picture two thrones, okay? So, on one throne sits a king, and on the other an aristocrat, okay? So, both have survived recessions, wars, market crashes, and decades of economic chaos, okay? And through every single one of them, they kept doing one thing without fail, okay? Paying their shareholders more money year after year. All right, so today we're settling the debate that comes up in almost every dividend investing forum, every comment section, every group chat full of income investors, and that is Dividend Kings versus Dividend Aristocrats. So, very quickly, before we continue, if you're finding this useful, please hit the like button, okay? It really helps this video with the YouTube algorithm and helps the channel grow. And if you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell, okay? So you don't miss any future videos. And as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of So what's the real difference, you may ask? So is one actually better than the other? And more importantly, does either title actually mean you should buy the stock? So, spoiler alert, okay? The crown doesn't guarantee that the kingdom is healthy. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what each title means, how companies earn it, and the one thing almost nobody checks before buying a royal dividend stock. A mistake that costs income investors real money. So let's start with the title that takes the longest to earn. So a Dividend King is a publicly traded company that raises its dividend every single year for at least 50 consecutive years. Okay? So think about everything that's happened over the last 50 years. There have been multiple recessions, the 2008 financial crisis, a global pandemic that shut down the whole world economy overnight, double-digit interest rates in the 1980s. So throughout every one of those moments, a Dividend King's board of directors stood up and said, we're still increasing what we pay to our shareholders. So as of today, there are little over 50 companies that carry this title. The exact number shifts slightly depending on which research firm is counting and on how they treat a handful of edge cases. But we're talking about roughly 55 or so names out of nearly 6,000 publicly traded US companies. So that's a success rate of less than 1%. All right? And here's something important. Unlike our next category, there are no official committee handing out the Dividend King crown. There is no index provider that manages it, okay? So it's tracked independently by dividend researchers who go back through decades of company filings to verify the streak. There's no market cap minimum, no requirements to be in any particular index, just one rule, applied with total consistency. 50 years, okay, and every year, no exceptions. All right, and these are the Dividend Kings. But okay, now let's meet the aristocrats, the Dividend Aristocrats. So a Dividend Aristocrat is a company instead that increases its dividend every year for at least 25 consecutive years, so half the time commitment of a king. But here's the catch. The dividend growth alone isn't enough to wear this crown. All right? So to be a Dividend Aristocrat, a company must also be a current member of the S&P 500. So we're only looking at large, established American companies. So it needs a minimal float-adjusted market capitalization of around $3 billion, and it needs real trading liquidity, averaging at least $5 million in daily trading volume. So this is the critical distinction that most people miss. The Aristocrats list isn't compiled by independent researchers poring over old annual reports, but it's an official index managed and rebalanced every year by the S&P Dow Jones indexes, the same people who run the S&P 500 itself. There's an actual rule book here, okay? And that rule book is stricter than it sounds. So a company doesn't need to cut its dividend to lose aristocratic status. A single year of merely freezing the dividend, holding it flat instead of raising it, is enough to be removed. So, is falling out of the S&P 500 for any reason, even something as mundane as a merger or an index reshuffle. So today there are 69 dividend aristocrats, actually the highest number in the index history going back to 1989. That's a meaningful group of well-known, investable, liquid, large cap companies, all proven dividend growers. So now what? Now that you know what each title actually requires, let's put them on the same stage and compare them directly, because the differences are sharper than most people realize. Kings need 50 plus years of increases. Aristocrats need 25 years plus. On the pure dividend longevity, the king's streak is by definition at least twice as long. But longevity isn't the same as quality of the membership, okay? So every single aristocrat is in the S&P 500, meaning it is large, liquid, easily tradable company that meets strict size and volume rules. So dividend kings have no such requirements. So some kings are in the S&P 500 giants. Others are smaller, less liquid companies that simply aren't large enough or don't trade enough shares per day to even qualify for the S&P 500 in the first place. So the king list will let in a small regional company that the aristocrat rulebook would automatically exclude. Then there's the governance. The aristocrats index is officially maintained and rebalanced annually by the S&P Dow Jones indexes, which a published methodology anyone can read. The King's List has no central authority. It's compiled by independent dividend researchers, which means you'll occasionally see slightly different counts from different sources because they're each doing their own historical verification. And here's the overlap that surprises people. These two lists are not separate kingdoms, so a company can absolutely be both a dividend king and a dividend aristocrat at the same time. In fact, most kings that are large enough to sit in the S&P 500 are usually also aristocrats. Since 50 years of dividend increases obviously means that you cleared the 25-year mark. Okay, so think of the aristocrat status as a waypoint and the king status as a destination 25 years further down the same road. So, the warning, okay, and why neither crown guarantees, though, a good investment, right? Because here's where I need, though, to be the friend who tells you the uncomfortable truth instead of just selling you the dream, all right? So, wearing a crown doesn't mean a company is still healthy today. So dividend longevity tells you about the past. So 50 years of discipline, decades of surviving downturns, but it does not tell you what happens even just next year. Some kings and aristocrats operate in indices that are slowing down. Some are stretching to maintain a streak with a payout ratio that's uncomfortably high. Okay, meaning they're sending out more of their profits as dividends than is sustainable if earnings dip. So a few have kept that streak alive through financial engineering rather than genuine business strength. So, and the history backs this up. Companies have fallen off the aristocrats list after decades on it, not because they cut their dividend, but because a merger or a business decline pushed them out of the S&P 500 altogether. Others have lost king or aristocrat status entirely after finally being forced to cut. All right, so this is exactly why here at the Automatic Wealth Academy, we never treat a list or any list as a buying signal. Okay, a king or an aristocrat badge is a starting point for research, not a finish line. So the real homework is always the same three things. Look at the underlying business and whether its competitive position is still strong. Check the payout ratio to see if the dividend is actually affordable out of the current earnings, and assess the valuation to make sure you're not overpaying for a great track record. All right? So longevity earns a company a seat at the table, but it does not earn it your money automatically. Okay? So here's what to actually walk away with today. A dividend king has survived at least 50 years without ever failing to raise his dividend. Independently tracked, no official rulebook. A dividend aristocrat, on the other hand, has survived at least 25 years inside the strict official rules of the S&P 500 index. Many companies wear both crowns at once, and neither crown on its own tells you whether the stock belongs in your portfolio. All right, remember that. That's the knowledge. Next time we go from knowledge to action, a complete three-part framework for actually deciding when to start dividend investing and exactly how to build a portfolio around it, step by step, without the guesswork. And that's part 2 of this video. And you will not want to miss it. So if this gave you real clarity on kings versus aristocrats, all right, hit the subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you catch part 2 the moment it's live. And it'll be coming just after this video. If you have already got a favorite king or aristocrat in mind, please drop it in the comments, because I read everyone and I'd love to hear from you and have your thoughts on the topic. Thank you, and see you in part 2 in the next video. Bye. Bye, my friend.